Hi, this is Marnie Swedberg, web hostess of womenspeakers.com, here today with one of our featured speakers, Julie Buchten. Oh man, I slaughtered your name.
You forgot to practice.
I did.
Practice makes perfect. Buchtenkirch.
Buchtenkirch. Did you say it with a T in it? There's no T in the middle, but you say it like a T.
And that's why it's so confusing, because there's no T, but we say Buchtenkirch. Yes. That's why I was like Julie B.
What was your, Julie B, there you go. What was your maiden name?
Lambert.
Okay. Okay, well, we're giving a high five to Eric, her husband, this morning, because he was helping us get this going here. We had little technology issues.
I know, yes. I guess we're running a little late. So thank God you're home, because I'm not super computer savvy when it comes to stuff like that. So it's all good.
My husband and my sons, they keep me. Actually, my son-in-law as well. He's a computer geek too, and so all of these guys, they keep me all going and in line.
When you start asking your kids for help, I'm like, then I know I've crossed that threshold. Like now I'm officially old because I have to ask them for help with electronic stuff.
See, I'll let you be old. I just say that they grew up with technology brains, and their brains actually work so different. I mean, it's so amazing. These little tiny ones can come and do it for me. It's crazy. Their brains are wired.
It's funny that you say that, and this is so off topic, so I won't go into it, but my kids went to a Montessori school, and they did a whole presentation on kids born after the year 2000, and yes, their brains work very differently. So anyway. Yeah.
So see, you could feel old if you were born in 1999.
That's true. That's true. Oh, I gotta get that. I'm young.
You are. You're way younger than me. Feel young, girl. Okay. So let's talk about speaking. So you've been speaking for how many years?
Well, the last, I'd say 10 have been more frequently. Okay. But when I was in radio, I used to go and do things as well.
Right.
So it didn't take, it wasn't necessarily speaking, but so I'm going to say probably close to 15 years.
Okay. Yep. And how long have you been with womenspeakers.com?
Oh my goodness, maybe 3.
Okay.
I don't remember when I started.
Sure. Okay. And what have you found helpful about womenspeakers.com in your speaking ministry?
I wish I would have found you sooner.
I love that.
Well, here's the funny thing. I used to be director of women's ministries at a church in California when we lived there. And I think I shared with you once, I was a planner. And so I actually used to come to your site to find speakers for my events. And that's actually how I found you. And then when I stopped working full time and felt God leading me down this road, it was like, now I have that resource for myself. So I love a lot of things about it. I mean, do you want me to list them all off? Because there's a ton. It's an amazing site.
Maybe 2.
Okay. Okay. One would be monetarily, it's so affordable. What you do for all of us, and it's amazing what we get back. It's worth far more than what we have to pay every year. So, and then I love all the features that you have on here. All the podcasts, the additional learning opportunities. And then I love your statistics, how you can go on and see each month how many people have viewed your profile, whether they've clicked through to your website. That's awesome. That's good feedback.
Yeah, great. And do you have a special topic that people like? Or, you actually, I was going to mention this here. You actually have 17 topics listed. So out of these 17 topics, do you have a couple that are like your rock stars that you keep at the top, or do you just rotate them down as you add them?
You know what? So far, I've just been, as I add them, right? The most recent one is on top, But every time I do something new, I like to add it, just because, I do speak on a variety of things, and I think it gives people an idea. And it helps, once again, it helps planners. Like if they're looking for a speaker and they're not yet sure where God's leading them for their event, sometimes I feel like, well, this might spark something in them. Like, oh, this sounds like a great topic. We can use this as our theme. So, and yet I work with people too, if it's not listening.
Well, I just did the whole hour long, the magnetism of a hot topic. The training on that was just
Okay.
yesterday. That was one of the things that I really talked about. Is a lot of planners, they like go to womenspeakers.com, maybe not even thinking of hiring a speaker,
Right.
looking for a topic title.
Right. Right.
Because there's hundreds, thousands of topics there.
Yeah.
And so, you just type in your keyword and all of a sudden you got all these great wordsmith topics, which are not copyrighted because they're a title. And so she can use that. But the thing that happens then, she's thinking, Christmas, and I'm thinking something about Mary or whatever. And she finds this perfect title. Well, all of a sudden there's all of this interest in like, well, who came up with that title? What would she say? Click.
Yeah.
Now she's into your profile. And now she's like, well, now why would I invite a different speaker? She's doing exactly what my heart was to do for my women.
Absolutely.
So this concept of having several topics and having them wordsmithed. And by the way, you guys, also when you're doing it, make sure that that description is there. Planners hate it when they go and find an empty description. And then when you get that description, have it wordsmithed so that she can copy and paste that right into her program. Now that's part of her publicity, but you did the work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Once again, being one time a planner.
Both sides.
Yes, I've seen both sides. And it's wonderful when you can go somewhere and see more than just the title, because you're like, well, tell me what we might be talking about. So, no, I think that's very important. Absolutely.
Well, and it doesn't really help you as a planner promote it either.
Right.
It's just the title. You need to know what the speaker's going to be talking about. Yeah. So that's great. So let's talk about money for just a moment, because this is a sticker point for a lot of speakers. How do you handle the money side of things? Like, do you bring it up if they don't? Do you have a set fee? How do you do it?
Well, I do not have a set fee.
Okay.
I'd say most of the time they bring it up because once again, they may already have a budget in mind, and so what I found is I feel like most of the time they've said, this is what we can do, or they'll say, how much do you charge? And my response is, I'm going to work with you. I can work within your budget. And as long as it's fair, for the event, I'm good. And that's my approach, because, I remember looking for speakers and I'd get excited. I'd see the profile and then I'd be like, oh, they charge too much. I want them for my event, but then all of a sudden they're inaccessible. And so when I felt God leading me to do this instead of planning, but doing more of the speaking, and everybody's different. So, you have to pray through this. But for me, I felt like whether I'm speaking to 20 women or I'm speaking to 500 women, God knows, and so I don't necessarily choose events based on money either. So I feel like I go where God tells me to go and I don't worry about the money necessarily. And yet it needs to be fair. You don't want to do like, you're speaking for 45 minutes at a dinner versus an entire weekend retreat and you make the same amount of money, so it does need to be fair, but I haven't had any issues so far with that at all. So I just work within the budget of, if I feel like that's where God's wanting me to go,
So, right, because that's really the first piece is, right, am I a good fit? And we've been talking a lot about this with the other speakers too. You don't want to force it and make it try to fit where it isn't a fit, whether the money's great or not.
Right.
And then if it is a good fit, God's going to take care of you, and that's good. And by the way, I just wanted to add this in here too. If you feel like God is calling you to have a certain set fee, that's great. That's fine. And I mean, you're not going to call Beth Moore and have her come to your church for $20. It's just, as it's supply and demand, she only has so much availability and there's so much demand.
Right.
And, as you find that you're filled up more and more, this is one of the ways that God uses to help you identify where you're supposed to go next. Your influence is expanding your bottom line. It costs more to be at that level of ministry. You have to charge more.
Yes.
So, there's a lot of things that do here, but if you can trust God to help you and your spouse or your family come up with how you're going to charge people, it just eliminates the anxiety of that conversation. My heart is for you to have a comfortable conversation about money where that isn't the main thing that you're talking about.
Right. Nobody likes talking about it, but it has to be talked about. And our time is valuable. You know, I mean, we're away from families, we're away from, you know, loved ones. We might be away from our church for the weekend. So, you know, it is very important. But once again, I think it all, like you said, comes down to, okay, where does God want me to go? You know?
Right. And of course, you know, for the planners who are listening to this, it's not just the minutes we're with you. It's all the preparation that goes into that, which is so much. And I always say, you know, there's a distinction. Some planners have mentioned to me, and you've been on both sides of this too. Some planners have said, well, you know, she came and she's from our church and she did it for free. And I'm like, yeah, right. When you go to the church, you know, you're all supporting each other as a family. It's like asking your kids to bring something to Christmas dinner and they don't charge you for it. You don't pay them. They're part of your immediate family. But when you're bringing a speaker from the outside who doesn't know you, that's a totally different thing. And you need to compensate her as best you can. And one of the ways, and I don't know if you've ever used this, but one of the ways I encourage is just add $5 or $10 to the ticket fee. It's really fine. And that pays for the speaker.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it's an easy way to handle that. Do you have any other thoughts about money before we move on?
Not necessarily. I think it's really important to know where you're at on your journey, like you said. I mean, when you first start out versus when you get busy, you're right. I totally agree. I think God uses that as a differentiator, you know, and yet God's economy is so different than our economy, you know, so as far as, you know, the importance of, you know, if I have to choose between, once again, an event with minimal women and a lot of women, and this one's more money, I don't let the money decide. You know, I have to let God decide. Right. So, you know, when we do that, I think it all works out.
Absolutely. And then a clarification point too. A lot of speakers who speak full time still don't have a set fee. A lot do. But a lot still just go wherever and say a love offering or whatever your budget affords. You know, they just trust God for it. So, I mean,
there's definitely, I think there's no right or wrong answer in that.
There isn't. The answer that's correct is the answer where you're at peace with God, yourself, and your family. That's the right answer.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So push through.
Oh. It got stuck. Oh no. I don't know. Well. Oh.
Here. Hey, we are. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What happened?
I have no idea.
Oh my.
Thanks, you guys who are live with us right now. We'll clip that out for the eventual video.
I'll tell you.
I know we've had a lot of fun with this. We tried last week to do this, and it totally ate the whole thing. There was nothing left at the end of our time together. But anyway, so I had just asked you, what is your social media involvement?
Well, right now, I'll be totally honest, it's less than what I'd like it to be. And that is for a couple of reasons. I was working full time outside of the home. And so for working moms, you know, you've got a lot on your plate. But now that I'm home, and this is more recent, this is just within the last 4 months, I have a blog, and so I need to blog more. But I pretty much utilize Facebook and my blog. I'll even utilize Pinterest. because in my blog, I'll put a picture. And so then I can use that picture on Pinterest, you know, because people are always looking all over Pinterest for spiritual things as well, you know. And then I use your site as far as like after I've spoken at an event, the goal is to take pictures while I'm there and then do a shout out to the people, post it either on Facebook, pretty much both places, and give a shout out to them. Hey, I had a great time with the moms and daughters over the weekend at such and such camp, you know, and give them a shout out. But that in turn just reinforces, obviously, and gives some credibility and authenticity and things like that to, you know, to what I'm doing. So
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have a daily to-do list on that yet.
Sure. And you know what we're finding as I'm doing these interviews with all the speakers, everybody's at a different point with this. Some people are not involved at all. Some people have a little bit that they're doing kind of strategic inputs just at various times. And other people are on all day, every day. I mean, not all day, every day, but like in and out, you know, in and out like 5 times a day. You know, so I think, again, it's kind of like the money piece. I just want to encourage you to pray this through, get to a point of peace where God has you right now today. And don't let this become the thing that makes you feel less than or not enough, because honestly, you cannot possibly do everything that there is out there for you to do. It's just impossible. No. There's social media can become all consuming.
Well, and as ladies, I mean, we compare. It's the first thing we do, you know, and so then it becomes almost paralyzing because it's like, well, look at how much they're doing. Well, I can't really do that much. So then you end up doing nothing, you know, and it's like, no. Like you said, everyone's at a different place in their journey. And that's a beautiful thing. And we need to rest in that instead of feeling guilty about
it. Yeah. So just rest in it and go with where God is moving your heart to do. And we're just about done here. But Julie, do you have a favorite Bible verse that you'd like to share?
I do. And here's the really funny thing. I don't know the number of it. And it's like, how could it be a favorite Bible verse if you don't even know? Well, let me give you the story. So it's in Exodus, and it's when God has called Moses to go. And at one point, he hesitates. I mean, he's accepted the call, but at one point, he says to God, God tells him to continue on in this particular area. And he says, unless you go before me, I will not go. Right. Do not send me. And so I love it. I love it. And so for me, that's almost how I live. Like, God, unless you're in it, unless you go before me, don't send me, because it's just pointless. You know, and that's how, not even just in speaking, but in every area of my life. Like, help me to follow you and go where you are sending me.
Yeah. In my Amplified Bible, it says in parentheses, because you are the distinguishing difference. Oh, I love that. I know. Yeah. So I wrote that in big letters above the God, the distinguishing difference. You know, I mean, it's like he could send us anywhere, this horrible place, but if he's with us, it's okay. And we could go to the most lofty place, and without him, it would be nothing. It would be so tragic.
Right.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Well, you have been Miss Persistent, and we have gotten this thing done.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Thank you for your life, for your ministry, and thank you for letting me partner with you over at womenspeakers.com.
Thank you, Marnie. I appreciate all that you do for us. You're amazing, and you inspire us. So thank you.
Oh, good. Well, you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks, you guys, for joining us, and talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.